I wore my best navy blazer that morning, the one with gold buttons and sleeves just tight enough to feel like armor. I'd spent 20 minutes straightening my hair and another 15 on makeup. I wanted to look sharp, powerful, confident. I had no idea I was walking straight into my own public humiliation. The office lobby was full of familiar faces, employees I'd hired, interns I'd mentored, executives who used to ask me for approval. Some smiled politely, others looked away too quickly. I didn't notice at first. I was too busy rehearsing my pitch for the new marketing plan. When I walked into the boardroom, he was already sitting at the head of the table, my seat, my husband, business partner, the man I built this company with, from our kitchen table to $1 million firm. His new assistant, the one who wore pencil skirts 2 sizes too small, was sitting beside him, flipping through notes she didn't understand. I smiled at him, trying to stay calm. He didn't smile back. Instead, he stood up, buttoned his jacket, and said, loudly enough for everyone to hear, "We've had enough. You're too fat, too ugly, and frankly, too embarrassing to represent this company anymore." The room went dead silent. No one moved. He nodded to security. I thought he was joking. I laughed, just a little. A nervous, confused sound. But the 2 security guards who used to wave at me every morning stepped forward. One touched my arm, the other grabbed my laptop. "I'm still the co-founder," I said, my voice cracking. You no longer represent this brand," he interrupted. "Get out." So I left. I didn't cry. Not in the elevator, not in the parking lot. Instead, I sat in my car, hands shaking, chest tight, and I opened the folder I kept in my glove compartment. Backup passwords, original contracts, copies of our equity documents. I scrolled through every text, every email, every file I'd ever saved. He thought this was over. He thought wrong, because I built this company once. And now, I was going to take it back, piece by piece. It started with a garage and a dream. One of those cheap rental garages in a sketchy part of town where the light flickered and the Wi-Fi barely reached. But it was ours. We were both broke, freshly married, and full of wild ideas. I'd just quit my job in advertising, and he had walked away from a stable software gig because he wanted more. We thought we could change the world, or at least build something people would talk about. I handled the brand, the voice, the look. I spent hours sketching logos on napkins and designing websites from scratch. He handled the code, the back end, the systems, the databases. He'd sit for 14 hours straight in that garage, hoodie up, fingers flying across the keyboard. We ran on instant noodles, dollar coffee, and each other. Some nights we stayed up till 3 a.m., just talking about where we wanted to take the company, the kind of clients we wanted, how we'd hire ethically, how we'd create a company culture that didn't feel toxic. Back then, it wasn't about money or power. It was about us. When we landed our first big client, we screamed like kids. We danced in the garage, spilling coffee everywhere, then passed out on the old sofa we kept against the wall. I remember looking over at him that night and thinking, this is the man I'll build everything with. And for a while, we did. We moved from the garage to a real office, hired a small team, got featured in a local tech magazine. People started calling us a power couple. We were equals. He respected me. He listened. But somewhere along the way, it shifted. The more money came in, the more he changed. He stopped asking for my input. He'd roll his eyes when I offered ideas in meetings, called me emotional when I disagreed with him. Slowly, quietly, I was being pushed out, but never in a way I could call out. Not yet. He started dressing sharper, talking down to people, networking with investors who only talked to him, even though I was the one who scheduled the damn meetings. Then came the intern, blonde, 20-something, way too comfortable sitting on his desk and laughing at his jokes. I told myself I was imagining things, that we were just tired, stressed. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the man from the garage anymore. This was someone else entirely. It started small, quiet things I could almost explain away. He stopped kissing me good morning, stopped brushing against me in the kitchen, stopped noticing when I wore lipstick or changed my hair. I'd reach for his hand in the car, and he'd pretend to check his phone. I told myself it was just work stress. We were both exhausted. But then the comments started. At dinner with clients, he laughed and called me bossy, then leaned in and said, "You know, for someone who runs a branding team, maybe don't eat so much bread." At a staff party, he joked, "She used to be a size 4 when we started this company. Now she's comfortable." Everyone laughed. I didn't. Then came the intern. Chloe, she was young, blonde, wore tight skirts, and had a giggle that grated on me like nails on glass. At first, I thought she was harmless, a new college hire, eager and wide-eyed, but she was always around, lingering in his office, perched on the edge of his desk, whispering, giggling, laying a hand on his arm for just a second too long. I confronted him once. He smirked. "Jealousy's not a good look on you, babe." 2 weeks later, he announced to the team that Chloe was now our creative director. No vote, no warning, just a private meeting he called without me. "She's got fresh ideas," he said. "Modern perspective, something your work's been missing lately." I sat there, in front of our team, smiling, like I wasn't dying inside. That night, he didn't come home. Said he was working late. I didn't ask questions. I already knew the answers. I tried to keep my head down, tried to believe he was just going through something, that it would pass, that he'd come back to me. But then I walked into the office one morning and saw them in the conference room. The door was slightly open. She was on his lap, laughing, kissing him, like I didn't exist, like I hadn't built this company beside him. My heart didn't break in that moment. It hardened. He thought he ended me. After he threw me out of the boardroom like a stranger, I think he expected me to crawl away and disappear, maybe cry, maybe vanish quietly like I never mattered. But what he didn't realize, or maybe forgot in all his arrogance, was that I still legally owned 49% of the company. He never filed the final paperwork to change it. We were in the middle of the process, yes, but nothing had been signed by both parties. And without that signature, I was still a co-founder, still an owner, and still very, very dangerous. So I went home, opened my laptop, and started digging. I had access to everything before he changed the passwords. Emails, chat logs, financial reports, contracts, screenshots. He was sloppy, too confident. There were emails where he talked about moving funds around, hiring Chloe off the books, even mocking clients behind their backs. Things that, if seen by the right people, could cause serious damage. He thought he had buried me, but really, he just poked a bear. The first thing I did was call a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, a sharp, quiet woman named Angela who specialized in corporate warfare. She didn't smile much, but she understood rage when she saw it. We met in a cafe. I showed her everything. She looked through the files, took a slow sip of her coffee, and said, "We can use all of this." Then I made copies, physical, digital, backed up on drives hidden in 3 different locations. I created a timeline of every shady decision he made in the last year, every lie, every rule he broke, every contract he breached, Chloe's fake promotion, the misuse of company funds, the times he paid himself bonuses without board approval. Piece by piece, I built my case. And while he was posting photos online of his new era with Chloe in fancy hotel lobbies and business dinners, I was meeting with shareholders, quietly, one at a time. I didn't yell, I didn't beg. I showed them numbers, dates, receipts. Most of them didn't even know what he had been doing behind their backs. Some were furious. He thought I was gone, thought I had no cards left. But the truth was, I had the biggest one of all, ownership, and now I was ready to play it. I disappeared, on purpose. No social media posts, no calls to the office, no angry emails. I let him believe I was defeated, licking my wounds in some dark corner. Let him think he'd won. In reality, I was everywhere he couldn't see. While he posed for photos with Chloe, talking about fresh energy and modern leadership, I was quietly meeting with our largest investors. Not in boardrooms, but in coffee shops, hotel lounges, parked cars. I showed them numbers, proof of how much the company had slipped under his lead, of how poorly Chloe performed. Her decisions were laughable. One investor actually chuckled and said, "This girl's running your brand like it's a college group project." Then I hired a private investigator, not to dig up dirt on him, I had plenty, but to follow her, Chloe, because something about her didn't add up. Turns out, she had falsified her resume, lied about previous roles, and she was leaking internal designs to a competitor she was secretly connected to. It was all there, texts, emails, even photos. Chloe wasn't just a distraction, she was a walking lawsuit. Meanwhile, my lawyer Angela was working overtime, quietly filing claims, preparing documentation, drafting notices that would shake him the second they hit his desk. She had this calm, cold way of talking, like she'd buried men like him before, and would happily do it again. Then came the call that confirmed everything was working. The CEO of our biggest client called my personal number, one I hadn't used in months. "Where the hell are you?" he asked. "Why is your husband running everything like a frat house? Who the hell is this new girl giving us orders?" I smiled. "Would you like to hear the full story?" He did, and by the end of that call he told me something that made my heart race. "You fix this, and we stay." That's all I needed. He still thought I was gone, but I was just getting started. The next board meeting was supposed to be routine, just another chance for him to brag about growth and toss buzzwords around while Chloe nodded beside him like a bobblehead. He didn't know I'd be there. He didn't even think I could be, but I walked in anyway. He froze mid-sentence when he saw me. His jaw tightened. Chloe actually flinched. I didn't break stride. My heels echoed across the polished floor just like they had the day he had me dragged out. Except this time, no one moved to stop me. Every executive in that room stared, silent. "I have the floor," I said, setting down a thick binder in front of each board member, "and 49% ownership says I do." He opened his mouth, but I didn't let him speak. "Let's begin with company funds. Page 3. Unauthorized payments to Chloe Peterson, totaling over $47,000 in bonuses and travel expenses, none of which were approved by the board." One of the board members raised an eyebrow. Another started flipping pages faster. Page 7. Communications between Chloe and a rival firm. She's been leaking product concepts. We have phone records, email trails, and even photos from a private investigator. I didn't look at Chloe, but I could feel her shrinking in her seat. Page 12. Manipulated investor reports. Revenue inflated. Client retention numbers edited. Pages 15 through 17 show actual metrics versus what you were given. Someone muttered a curse. "And finally," I said, sliding one last paper across the table, "an email my husband sent to our legal consultant last month." I let it sit there for a second, then read it aloud. "She's a dumb cow who should be erased from the company entirely. Make sure she has nothing left." Gasps, shuffling chairs. Chloe went pale. He tried to speak again, tried to spin it, but the room had turned. The silence wasn't shocked anymore. It was furious. Half the board stood up and walked out without a word. The rest stayed, angry, ashamed they'd believed him. One by one they voted. And just like that, the man who had mocked my body, stolen my work, and tried to erase me was officially removed as CEO. He stared at me as if I'd stabbed him. I didn't smile. I just gathered my things and walked out, leaving him with the wreckage he built. He destroyed the company we made together. Now I was going to rebuild it, without him. He didn't take it quietly. 2 days after the board vote, I got the first letter, a lawsuit. He was suing me for defamation, libel, and breach of contract. Claimed I destroyed his professional image and spread false accusations. Said I ruined his future. What he didn't realize was, I came prepared for war. My lawyer had already filed everything. Every email, every receipt, every document had already been submitted. The court didn't even blink. His claims didn't hold up under 10 minutes of cross-examination. Instead, the judge asked him about the money, the bonuses he gave Chloe, the company card he used for business trips that just happened to be at 5-star beach resorts, the missing $90,000 that no one could explain. That's when things really turned. It wasn't just civil court anymore. He was hit with embezzlement charges. The company's accountant, who once feared him, finally spoke up, said he'd been pressured into hiding the gaps in the books. The state took notice. So did the IRS. Meanwhile, I countersued. Civil court, quiet, brutal, and fast. He tried to charm the judge, tried to act like he was the victim, that I was a bitter ex out for revenge, but the evidence was too strong. Every lie, every shady deal, every cruel message. It was all there in black and white. The court ruled in my favor. I was awarded controlling shares, full ownership. He was ordered to pay damages. He didn't have the money. Then the dominoes started falling. His reputation collapsed overnight. News spread in tech circles. Clients pulled out. Startups stopped returning his calls. He was evicted from the high-rise apartment we used to share, the one he kicked me out of. Chloe, she dumped him 2 weeks later, quietly. No goodbye, no public post, just gone. Last I heard, he moved back in with his older brother in a city 2 hours away. He used to laugh at me for being too emotional. Now he was alone, angry, forgotten, and I was just getting started. The invitations were sleek, black, and gold embossed. You're cordially invited to the relaunch of Violux. A new era begins. We booked the rooftop of the city's most expensive hotel, views of the skyline, live jazz, an open bar that didn't stop. Every guest got a custom welcome package, complete with a thank you note signed by me, founder and CEO. And yes, we made sure to invite every single person he had ever tried to impress. Investors, partners, influencers, magazine editors, tech bloggers. Some of them were the same people who'd looked through me months ago like I was invisible. Funny how quickly people remember your name when you're the one signing the checks. That night, I wore a black satin gown with a slit so high it shut down conversations. My hair was done, my heels were sharp, and my confidence walked in before I did. As I stepped onto the stage, camera lights flashed. Every major local outlet was there. The buzz around our comeback had been building for weeks. Mostly because I made sure they knew he wasn't part of it anymore. I took the mic, let the music fade, and looked out at the crowd. I started this company in a garage, I said, with a man I thought would build it with me, not against me. People shifted. They knew who I meant. I was told I wasn't good enough, not smart enough, not pretty enough, that I was too fat to lead the brand I built, too emotional to be respected, too inconvenient to be kept. I let the silence hang just long enough. But here we are. Tonight is not just about Violux. It's about something bigger. I scanned the crowd, some embarrassed, some in awe. It's about women who are underestimated, pushed out, talked over. It's about proving that what we build, we can rebuild. Stronger, smarter, without apology. Applause erupted. Not the polite kind, the real kind. I smiled. We're launching 3 new campaigns this quarter. We've signed with our biggest client to date, and we're doing it all with an executive team that values loyalty, talent, and respect, not just pretty faces. The rest of the night was a blur of handshakes, photos, press interviews, and clinking glasses. Somewhere in the distance, I heard a reporter whisper, "She really did it." Yes, I did. And this was just the beginning. I bought the building 6 months after the relaunch, the same one we had leased for years, the one where he had his big corner office, floor-to-ceiling windows, private espresso machine, and his name on the door. I didn't just take the office, I erased it. We tore out the desk, pulled down the glass walls, and turned it into a meditation room. Soft lights, quiet music, plants, and silence. A space for focus and peace, not ego. People laughed when they saw the change, but the team loved it. And yes, my executive team, all women, all brilliant, all hired for their talent, not their waistline. The energy in the company shifted almost overnight. Meetings felt alive again. Ideas flowed. People smiled in the halls. No more tension, no more fear. Just sharp minds building something together. Within a year, we tripled our revenue. Tripled. I signed a contract with a Silicon Valley firm that he had begged for 5 years ago. Back then they passed, said we weren't ready. Now they called me. They asked for a partnership, said they were impressed with how far the company had come. I smiled and told them, this is just the start. As for him, he's around. He tried launching a podcast, tried teaching some sad online course about entrepreneurship, tried getting speaking gigs. No one called back. He's reached out a few times, an email here, a DM there, always the same tone. We should talk, or maybe we went too far, or let's clear the air for old time's sake. I don't respond. He made me feel small once, made me believe I wasn't enough, not smart enough, not pretty enough, not valuable. But now I sit at the head of the table, not because I'm his wife, not because someone gave me a shot, because I earned it, every single inch of it, and I'll never hand it back. He called me last week, blocked number. I almost didn't pick up, but something made me press accept. There was a pause at first, just breathing, then his voice, shaky, lower than I remembered. "It's me," he said. I didn't say anything. I didn't know who else to call, he continued. "I saw the new campaign. It's huge. You really did it." I still didn't speak. Then came the part I expected. "I miss you." I let that sit in the air. I knew what he was doing. He wasn't calling because he missed me. He was calling because I had something now, something he no longer did. "I'm sorry," he said. "I was stupid. I didn't mean what I said. You know I didn't mean it like that. I was angry. I got carried away. Chloe, she left. It all fell apart. His voice cracked like he might cry. I thought you'd fail without me, he whispered. But you didn't. You built it better, without me. I couldn't believe it. I still can't. You really... I hung up. I sat there for a second, just holding the phone, watching the blank screen. And then I laughed. Not loud, not bitter. Just a slow, full laugh that came from somewhere deep in my chest. The kind of laugh that comes when the pain is finally over, when the weight has lifted. I looked around my office. My name on the door now. My team working just outside. My vision running full speed. He thought he made me. He thought I'd break. But I rose higher than he ever imagined. And now he's the one looking up.